I'm originally from Ukraine. Up until recently, nobody knew where Ukraine was, and all of a sudden, it has become a bigger and bigger issue. But, in 1992, my parents kind of foresaw what was going to happen in that part of the world, and they decided to make the move. And in 1992, there was no translators, there was no Google, so I tried to find myself in that same mindset what my 42-year-old father did at the time, to move completely different country without knowing the language, with 2 kids and 2 bags in each hand, what that had to be like. And so I'm forever grateful for making that decision, because it allowed me to
How old were you?
Here. 13.
Wow.
Yeah.
Live ready, reach higher, chase the sky, beyond thinking, grow rich, you'll learn to fly. With every step
Welcome to the Live Ready podcast, Beyond Think and Grow Rich, with your host, me, David R. Ibarra. Today, our guest is Jason Volny. Welcome, Jason.
Thanks, David. It's good to be here.
Well, Jason, tell us about your new position. Jason has a new position, and I'll let him announce just what that is.
Well, thank you, David. I'm excited to have joined the team. I'm the Chief Talent Development Officer here at the Live Ready Institute, and my goal is to help scale and grow this organization and help live our mission, right, which is to ignite the Live Ready mindset in anybody who wants to be determined to achieve what they could and should have in life.
Well, that's great. I tell you what, I've known Jason for a long time, and so it's not an accident that our paths came together. But many of you are probably wondering, what in the world is the Chief Talent Development Officer? We don't have traditional names, but Jason is one of 3 C-suite positions. So those that don't know what C-suite is, that would be the highest position in the company. So we've taken all of the things that we did at eLeader Tech, David Ibarra Enterprises, and combined them into one brand. Tell us about what you and I were thinking when we decided to go to one brand and have 5 offerings, one brand.
Well, I think the idea is because you've been clearly doing this for a long time, right? And you live under a strict code of conduct, so to speak, the Live Ready code of conduct, these principles that you've been sharing with many dealerships for many, many years. And to your point, our paths have crossed before. I used to work for the same organization that you used to lead, to Henry Day Ford. And so I've kind of been seeded with the similar principles, the same principles that you've been sharing with a lot of the dealers, a lot of other groups, other industries. And it was only natural when this opportunity came up for me to join the team and help scale this organization. One of the things that I'm in charge of, obviously, is the auto group, because that's where I'm from and that's where I feel most comfortable. But we also have other branches as well.
Well, we have the Live Ready Auto, which Jason is going to grow with our team that we've added as we think big and go big. But we also have the Live Ready Direct, and I'll take a minute and share what that is. And Live Ready Direct is taking all of the Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich principles, which many will know, and if you don't, is that I'm the largest licensee of Dr. Hill's Science of Success philosophy in the world. We have responsibility for China, Singapore, Central America, the Latin Caribbean, and parts of South America as well, making us the larger. But we've lived that since I don't know of any other way to live. I started it at 18 years old, and that has been the guiding principles for me. But we wanted to be able to take those lessons and offer it in a different way. So we created a streaming service. We don't use any third-party vendors. We create it from our company our software development company in Costa Rica to offer master classes in what we believe in a modern way. The third thing is, why don't you tell them a little bit about the Live Ready Studio, the Live Ready Publishing?
Yeah, great. The Live Ready Studio and Publishing, you've obviously written many books. one of which is Live Ready, Beyond Think and Grow Rich. You also have another book, Stop Drifting. And it's just become a way to express your ideas and share them with the world. And since then, you've written 3 more books, and I think 2 more on the way. So this is where everybody has this question, when does David actually sleep? If that's so, he's running multiple companies, he's writing books, and yet you just embarked on this new adventure, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. Well, and then on top of that, we're creating content now every single day to help share the message out there. So
and what we're going to do in the publishing company and the studio is we're going to create a series of 6 new books that will follow 60 days after, with a documentary to match. The one that we've just finished as far as the book is called The Power to Think, The Power to Rise, 5 Men, 5 Arenas, 1 Story. And but the big reason that we did this is the clients we serve, the experiences we have. There's books to be written, and we want to help people tell their story, not just ours, because I think that when we have a story that's uplifting, it helps everybody rise.
It certainly does. And the last book you just mentioned hasn't been published yet, but I had an opportunity to read it, and it is amazing how you learn the path that these 5 men have taken, and how the Think and Grow Rich has served them in order to achieve these what they've accomplished. And right now, I speak to a lot of folks that are drifters. You talk about this process, and they've never even heard of the book Think and Grow Rich, and yet this book has created more millionaires than any other book out there. And so to take this other book that you just put out to help people feel inspired and show them that the path can be traveled if you kind of know what it is, what steps to be taken, you're not alone. There's a way to get there.
Well, and absolutely right. Absolutely right. And there is a minority of people, basically science and surveys have told us, 13% of our society is natural or somewhat natural to be goal setters and score keepers. And the rest have a tendency to drift. Good people, but drift. And they're looking for leadership, purpose-driven leaders with pleasing personalities that care about their growth. And that's what we teach in our institute. The 4th rung to our attention is Live Ready Kids. Yes, our kids can. And basically, it's the principles that we teach in Napoleon Hill's 17 principles rewritten in Beyond Think and Grow Rich by me, but it's story time with Senor Lionel, and it's cartoons and sing-along songs. And we give that to the associates of the companies that we serve free to teach their kids. And I will tell you, we do it for a purpose. If they teach their kids, who else are they teaching, Jason?
Themselves.
And
funny story about that, I had the pleasure of bringing my kid to one of the leadership summits here. You remember him. His name is Dominic. Yeah. And after all said and done, we completed a leadership summit. Keep in mind, he's 14, but he looks 20.
Wow.
Right.
I was surprised by that. I thought he was 17 years old. Wow.
14.
14. Well, you know what? I'm sorry to interrupt you. What a mature individual for 14.
Right.
Wow. I thought I was talking to a person entering college.
Right. Well, that's again, I've paid this compliment to you before, but I think you ignore it sometimes because you don't believe it. But when he was done, I said, okay, what did you learn? And he says, honestly, not too much, because I've heard every single one of these principles my whole entire life. And so it just goes to show you started this, you planted the seed many, many years ago, and it's been kind of going through. And so when he showed up, I wanted him to hear from somebody else. And so thank you for that.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad to know I really didn't matter.
Yeah.
But at any rate, great kid, great young man. Not a kid by far, but 14 years old. Then the 4th or 5th is the Live Ready Dealership Exchange, which is brokering automobile dealerships that we've been doing, or I've been doing, for 25 years. And this year we sold the Jody Wilkinson Acura to the Murdoch Group, and just completed brokering the Southtown Volkswagen to the Ken Garf Group, and we've got a few more to announce coming soon. But that's what we do. So now let's talk about what makes you special, and you are special.
Well, I appreciate that.
Tell us about the early you. I particularly want to know, how is it that you have a bit of an accent?
Every time I do a presentation, I usually lead with that, right? I usually tell them a story about where I'm from, because I don't want people to focus on my accent. I want them to focus on what I'm trying to tell them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I came as an immigrant in 1992 straight to Utah. I'm originally from Ukraine. Up until recently, nobody knew where Ukraine was, and all of a sudden it has become a bigger and bigger issue. But, in 1992, my parents kind of foresaw what was going to happen in that part of the world, and they decided to make the move. And in 1992, there was no translators, there was no Google, so I tried to find myself in that same mindset what my 42-year-old father did at the time, to move completely different country without knowing the language, with 2 kids and 2 bags in each hand, what that had to be like. And so I'm forever grateful for making that decision, because it allowed me to.
How old were you?
Here. 13.
Wow.
Yeah, 13.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, who was president of the United States in was it Bill Clinton?
It was Bill Clinton.
And it's interesting, just to put a time frame on that, President Clinton was the first president of the United States to send an email.
Wow. Exactly, yeah. There was no technology, and we came, and we had really kind of burned the ship type, but we sold everything that we had, and literally we had $6,000 to our name, 2 bags, and whatever pictures we could grab.
What kind of occupation did your mom and dad have in Ukraine?
So this is where it's interesting. My father was a civil engineer, helped build the town that is being destroyed right now, even as we speak. My mother was a doctor. But with that, they were really highly educated, but by those standards, we really had nothing.
Because they weren't, their credentials were not accepted in the United States, and so they couldn't go to work as a doctor and an engineer without getting what? Going back to school, getting a cert, and I understand that's not the easiest thing to do.
No, they definitely had to get more education. And at the age of 42, there's definitely, it's not as easy to learn a language when you get to that age. And so they just made a decision to, just kind of live out their life. And, my dad went at the end. We did odd jobs. I got a job at 13. I had 2 paper routes, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. My mother was telling me she had tears in her eyes because, in Ukraine, you don't have to work until you're about 25 to 27 years old. You kind of live with your family. You went to school. And here they are. They brought me to America, and I had to work and help out with the bills. And so, but my dad delivered pizza. My mother, worked for Albertsons, for those of you who remember that store.
Yeah, sure.
And they made a good living, but they knew how to live frugally, which is something that's embodied in me right now. They have a house in Florida. They're retired right now, living the life they want to live, and they're happier than ever doing what they were doing.
Well, Jason, do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have one brother. He lives in California now.
Is he older or younger?
5 years older.
5 years older, and what does he do? He
followed my dad's footstep. He's a structural engineer for one of the largest firms in the world. He's been doing it for many, many years, and he's done really well for himself.
Well, I bet your parents are proud of both of you.
They certainly are. I like to believe so.
Right. And those of us that are children or immigrants ourselves, when I think of the price my father paid, coming here as a migrant worker, and for the sole purpose of knowing that if he didn't, that our destinies could not change. And to make that kind of a sacrifice for your children, man, if that's not the definition of love, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I keep putting myself in the mindset, if I wanted to move right now to a whole new country, it would be a lot easier because of all the technologies that we have. But back then, with so much uncertainty, how could you make that move? But they did. And so, like you said, for the children, and now that I'm a parent, I would probably do the same thing if I find myself in those circumstances like they did.
Well, I will tell you this, what we do see in America, I'll get myself in trouble for this, but it's true. It's not the same sacrifice that we see from many immigrant families. We're in a society today where family members do get sent off the island. You don't see that as much in some of the other countries. We all have an uncle that is not the most responsible, but he still is invited to sleep at the couch, and nobody gets shown off the island. And I always have been really impressive, particularly with the Mexican culture, because you just don't see as many people displaced, because family, they do take care of family.
They stick together.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how
Yeah.
you had to survive in many other countries. And for example, when I was, this blows people's mind, but when I was born, we lived in a flat. That's what they called apartments.
Yeah.
Nobody owned homes. And it was a 2-bedroom flat, and we had 10 people living there
Yeah.
at one time. And to us, that was the norm.
Yeah.
We didn't know any better. It was just family. And over here, it does seem like a lot of people kind of separate.
We've definitely become a little bit more entitled. So, but that doesn't mean. I'll tell you what. I appreciate being a part of America, the United States of America, because there's a lot of Americas: Canada, South America, Central America. So I am thankful, but I don't think there's any place that you'll have a greater level of imagination than right here in the country that we're honored to live in.
At what age do you wish you had unlocked the principles that lead to success? Where do you think you'd be today if you had learned them as a child? Yes, Our Kids Can is a program developed at Harvard and tested in San Antonio's school systems, designed to give children of all backgrounds the opportunity to plant the seeds for future success, using learning techniques they understand and enjoy. Through engaging animated stories, fun sing-along songs, and interactive games, Yes, Our Kids Can teaches your child the empowering, success-driven principles needed to reach their full potential. Don't miss this opportunity to give your children the future they deserve. Yes, Our Kids Can is available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Sign up today and help make your child's dreams a reality.
Tell me about your upbringing as far as school. Where did you go to school? What was that like? Where did you graduate from college and things of that nature? Tell our audience a little bit about your education.
Yeah, great question, because it was a journey. I grew up in a family of, high academia. His dad was an engineer. He was actually valedictorian of his school. And my mother was also, my brother got a silver medal. That's what they did in Russia. They gave out gold or silver medal. And I was.
Now, you said Russia. Explain to people
That's a good point.
what that meant.
Yeah, because I was born in USSR. Ukraine was just a
Yes.
region. But I spoke Russian, and so anytime somebody asks where you're from, I say Russia. And so that's what I usually tell people is I come from Russia. But when I was not into education the same level that they were, in fact, I was just not interested. The joke in my family was I came in and just threw my bag by the door, and I was still able to get A's and B's. And so I didn't have to study, it just kind of came naturally to me. But after graduating from Cottonwood High School, a local school here, I went straight to college because that's what you're supposed to do. And I then left college and I joined University of Utah because I didn't want to get an associate's degree from Salt Lake Community College. So I went to University of Utah, and then a buddy of mine, Royal, who I believe you've met, we wanted to start a business. At the age of 19, we pulled our money together and we launched a cell phone company. And we had one of the largest distribution in the valley. We had locations in Southtown Mall, ZCMI Center. For those of you who remember, used to be a mall down here, Fashion Place Mall. And then 2001 happened, and the traffic just stopped. And so, but for those of you who know, the rents are really high, And remember, I was only 19, 20, 21 years old when we were doing that business. And so we didn't know what to do. There was no internet. I didn't have a mentor to reach out to. In fact, back then, I didn't even know what a mentor was, somebody I could ask. And so we closed down a business, and I joined Henry Day Ford team. And so I don't have a college degree. I have 2 failed businesses, and I had to find something to do. So a friend of a friend recommended me to join.
That's cool.
But later on in life,
Or
yeah.
you could look at it, I got introduced to college. I have 2 degrees in business because during that, I'm certain you learned as much and most likely more than you would have gotten out of a business degree. And I have absolutely no doubt about that.
100% agree with you. In fact, because at the age of 35, I did go back to University of Utah and did finish my degree. And looking back, I did learn a few things, but I remember sitting in class and they're teaching us, and I'm like, I already know all of this stuff. In fact, the teachers would look at me for approval, like, can I say this?
Boy, yeah, you bring back some memories of me. And every promotion I got when I was with the Marriott Corporation, I'd look at the job description, and because I didn't have a college degree, although I have more credits than what a college degree would require, I went for what I felt I had lacking, whether it was accounting or what have you. But I did take a couple of business courses, and it was like biting your tongue, not wanting to debate the professor because you knew he was leading down the wrong path and didn't have the experience to back up what he was quoting from a book.
Yeah.
So you ended up at Henry Day. Now, I know that place a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I was the general manager there for 10 years. Tell me about your experience. Where did you start, and where did you end up when you left?
So I started on the sales floor. Again, a friend of a friend said, hey, you're good at sales. Go visit Henry Day Ford. I know the general manager there. By that time, I believe you were already gone, and it was somebody else was in place. But I started on a sales floor and immediately fell in love with not just automotive, but the way the dealership was being managed and ran, and the mission behind it, which was to provide that experience that people can be.
Every guest would think or say that I'll be back.
Yeah, we were instilled in that, and so how can you not get behind that? There's so many dealerships out there, or so many folks that never would consider automotive sales because of the bad stigma that come with it. And honestly, that's what I had going into it. That's why I was planning to do this as a part-time thing, 6 months, and then I'm going to bounce. And then after a couple of years on the sales floor, being a top performer, I was offered a position of finance manager. So I went into that, came to Live Ready. At the time, it was E-Leader Tech F&I boot camp, and so learned how to be a high performer there. And then a couple of years doing that, I got promoted to the sales manager desk.
That's right. And then you left to go join a different outfit. What was that company, and what was its mission, and what was your role?
So I went and joined DrivingSales. Some of you folks may be familiar with the founder, Jared Hamilton. He started a company, and he wanted to also get into the he actually got into it originally training and developing, organizations, specifically dealerships, of how to take care of an internet lead, a proper way. Back then, when he first got into it, that was kind of the thing.
It was the new thing. It was the AI of the time.
Yeah. But then he pivoted to train and develop dealerships on the modern workforce. Automotive has always been known to have a revolving door. People came, people left. And one of the things that they wanted to fix is to give managers a process, how to onboard somebody properly, how to train and develop somebody properly, because a lot of managers were missing that. And so I jumped on board. I believed in the mission. I traveled the country, spoke to a lot of dealerships, spoke at many events, and trained dealerships on the proper way to do it. And on top of that, there was a software as well, but there was a problem, right? And because most managers only know how to lead one way. And so that's one of the things that I still believe it's going to hold this industry back, is that lack of leadership training that most people just do not get.
And what position did you hold when you left?
I was a national training and sales manager.
Okay. Then you went to another software company that basically was in the used car acquisition, which we'll skip. But you were the one of the top positions there as well.
I was, chief revenue officer, and it was a great opportunity. Again, you're always learning and always trying to.
And there's no doubt that DrivingSales and Live Ready have similar. We have been in business, frankly, a lot longer, but it was a hobby for me to only serve the folks that I worked with, which was, we have about 60 different groups, but we concentrate on 5 groups that I work with every week. And the idea of Jared, and what intrigued me, and frankly, Mike pushing me, this is the guy. This is you, David. This is who can do it, I'm sure. Are you sure? I'm sure. I said, okay, Mike, I have a lot of confidence in, as I do you. We haven't been together long, but we have the same fabric that we were cut from. But we're going to do it in a way that we're offering a belief based on 5 core principles: the power of how you think, how to gain your purpose, what talents do you need, either learn or to gather through a specialized talent team in talent development, actions, and then the mindset of how you approach your work. And that's what we teach, that's what we do, and we will not move from that. If somebody wants something else and it doesn't fit in our belief system, where do they need to do? Are they going to be with us?
No, they're going to go find some of the competitors.
They need to go. They need to go to traditional, because we're not teaching traditional. We're teaching what's good for the guest, what's good for the team member, what's good for the dealer, and building people and profit together. Profit's important, but it's not the most important thing. Talent plus capital equals success. So you've been here how long now, Jason?
5 months.
5 months. We're making a dent. We've expanded the team. We've rebranded. What do you think the next 5 years looks like for us?
I think from here is just growth. We had to build out a lot of infrastructure because their expectation has been raised. So we had to kind of build a unit around it. We had to bring the right talent team on board to help us get the message out. And to your point, it's not for everybody. A lot of folks are still looking for that click button app or some sort of a solution that's going to do the work for them.
They're looking for artificial intelligence instead of creating intelligence. And when you look at, there's no doubt artificial intelligence, it has a great value of organizing your thoughts, helping you get something at a quicker an answer, but it doesn't create intelligence. That's up to leaders. And the leaders that are watching us today, if you're concerned about that, I will tell you it's about the product, how you sell it, the associate, the interaction with the guest, and what the guest feels. And that will never change.
But what you said, nothing's going to change, because if a leader's not there to begin with, to be able to coach, train, and develop, it all starts with leadership. It doesn't matter what app, what gadget, what process you're going to hear at NADA or 20 Group and you bring it in. You have to have the right principles in place in order to execute it.
We start with we have a leadership summit where we onboard leaders and talk about the 7 modules that a leader must have. And it's a lot of information. We have an alliance that we stay together and talk 1 hour a week. We have a Live Ready Daily, a vitamin to create a readiness mindset that is just takes you a minute to 2 minutes to read. And we have the podcast that you're looking at right now every Monday, and more to come. But I'll tell you one thing that I bet was a little surprising. We have an infrastructure that is solid, but we didn't view it as a national business. We do today. This is our mission, to assist people to get what they could and should have. And I want to thank you for being on our program. And I'm delighted you've joined the team. I think it's going to be special, and I can't wait to get across the finish line, because the finish line you get across because we move it. There's always more. But welcome, and thank you for being on our program.
Thanks, David.
Now, one last thing. We have a new book. It is called The Create How Power, 28 Essential Lessons. 10 minutes a lesson, once a day, for 28 days. Everybody can seed themselves for success. Go on Amazon and just put David R. Ibarra, and all our 5 books will come up, and it's Creating How Power. Thank you. And as I always say, live ready, my friends.
Live ready, reach higher, chase the sky. Beyond think and grow rich, you'll learn to fly with every step